What feels like a long, long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, many of us used to love and adore Star Wars. And then something happened. It was sold to Disney. And we thought, this is a great new beginning. But slowly over time, Disney has been chipping away at our hopes and dreams over and over again. And now we are at the brink of another television show with Disney Star Wars releasing The Acolyte. And I am here to tell you whether this is worth watching or not. Let's just go ahead and dig into it because there is a whole lot to wade through with the saga of The Acolyte. Now, if you were to go and search on Google right now the reviews, which I have done, and go and just look at the news and what the outlets are putting out, you can tell that what has been happening for years is now happening again, which is just an endless wall, multiple pages full of praise for this show. The Acolyte, a universe in a Star Wars universe in bold new ways. It's thrilling. It breathes life into Star Wars in the galaxy. It is not messing around. So if you were to read the news at all, you would think that this is the most loved show ever. And then if you're like, maybe I should go to that website that we don't even like to mention around here, but if we were to go to Rotten Tomatoes, I wonder what they think. Oh my God, a 94. Can you believe it? A 94%. But then you're like, whoa, wait a minute. It's sitting at a 46% here by general audiences. And we're not getting numbers on either of these because Rotten Tomatoes is notoriously deceptive and continue to be. So they are hiding those numbers. Why? Because they don't want you to know how many critics have given it this high score. And they do not want you to know how many audience have given it this low score. And there is a good chance that this audience score will change because they have been known to delete and remove them. So let that be known as well. So just know when you're searching for this on the news or on Rotten Tomatoes or elsewhere, that just be careful what your sources are. Now, we have only had 3 people review it so far, and there are only 2 episodes out right now. Let me be clear, 2 episodes are out, and we only have 3 people that have dropped reviews on these first 2 episodes. We have a 5%, a 30%, and a 73%. Now, right here already, we've got somebody calling it, saying that it's not good and calling it boring. And then we have a fairly active water cooler as well within Criticalist. And there is a lot of talk going on as people are watching this new episode in the water cooler. So make sure to check those out as well. And if you're not a user on Criticalist, go ahead, download in the app stores, Apple or Google, or just go to the website, criticalist.com. Now, moving on here to what is going on with this show. Now, if you were to look really closely, I was actually able to find 3 negative reviews. USA Today says that the Force is not with this new Star Wars show. IGN, surprisingly enough, who simps for Disney constantly, also just kind of gave it an okay, a 6 out of 10. And then Rolling Stone, who's hid behind a paywall, also came at this show, and they're saying that it is not a force to be reckoned with, and they're saying that essentially it is boring. Now, I said that I would help give you guys a better opinion and hopefully a more balanced and level-headed, take on what is going on with this show, and try not to be too griftery, but I'm already doing the grift here talking about this instead of doing the news. So, there's that. But look, if you were not paying attention, there has just been lots of news about this show that it was put into question as the marketing has been going on and as the press has been happening, and people had become worried before this show even hit the air last night. Now, Kathleen Kennedy just last week was complaining about the male-dominated audience and how, women struggle with Star Wars, essentially is what she was saying. Now, what she was saying that their struggle with Star Wars is the mostly male fan base. But I'm here to say that maybe just for once, Kathleen Kennedy was maybe just a little bit right. Maybe, just maybe, women are having trouble with Star Wars. And specifically this show, The Acolyte, because they're, touting and shouting from the rooftops about how many women are involved in this show. And, maybe Kathleen was right. Maybe she just keeps giving these jobs to these people and they just can't handle it. Because we all know Kathleen's motto. It's very simple.
Put another gay diverse woman in it. Make it more fucking lame.
And well, I'm here to say that she has at least done that. We do have another woman in it. It is more diverse. And I can tell you this, it is most definitely more lame. Now, like I said, I have only seen 2, and I am a little worried because from what I have heard, this spiral continues to go as the show progresses. But I am only here to speak on the first 2 episodes, and so I'm not going to get overly clickbait with you. I'm going to give you my honest opinion on what happened in these 2 episodes. But I was a little bit worried between this article coming out and things like this.
Because nerds are gay.
Well, some nerds are very not gay and are very threatened by gay
Well, that's
stuff.
true. But in my world, nerds are gay.
Okay.
So yeah, there's that happened, and my worry started to increase, and this is just day after day. It's just more news, more people getting in front of the press. But one of the things they've been talking about is how, you know, so much of this cast loves Star Wars, and yet when they get in front of the press, they say very, very embarrassing things that cause a little bit of a worry.
But if you can't look and see that Anakin blowing up the Death Star possibly killed millions and millions of people, Anakin blowing up the Death Star, Anakin blowing up the Death Star.
Oh no! Oh no!
So look, there's even, I mean, it's been happening for days now that other outlets like Giant Freaking Robot have been coming out after the fans again and being like, oh, you know, Star Wars haters are wrong, because a lot of people are worried about the Star Wars canon and what is happening with this show and how they are going to be messing up the history of Star Wars by coming in before everything that has happened. Because if you don't know this show takes place before everything that we have seen thus far, and has the potential to change a lot of things that could make a lot of people mad. And we've already got hit pieces coming out, you know, days and or weeks before the show's out, you know, calling folks Star Wars haters. But it's not Star Wars haters. It's people who love Star Wars that are complaining about the fact that even in the trailer, it made them worry that this could mess up the potential of the future of Star Wars, or to even just everything that existed already, because this is a prequel of all prequels. So it is a little bit worrisome. And now, after saying this, I can also confirm that they are probably going to have another problem.
And the Disney stock just keeps going down and down and down. And then Bob Iger is all like, no, it's going up in that stock.
And so, you know, Bob Iger might be worrying about their stock going down and down and down. I hope that video didn't mess up on y'all's end, because it sure did on mine. But either way, I mean, the problem is just increasing for Disney. This is not going to be loved by fans. I can guarantee you. And this might actually be the death nail for Star Wars. But with these first 2 episodes, you know, we've got some new characters. We've got some new Jedis. We've got this Acolyte. And look, at the end of the day, what is really happening here is that this show is it's just poorly made. It's really, really bad. There is terrible, terrible writing. The story itself is not too great. We have 2 leads in this show that you've probably seen photos of, one of which being our primary lead, who is playing 2 roles. I'm not even concerned about spoilers. Sorry, guys. And then we have another lead as well in the show that's a male lead right here. And both of these actors are really bad. Like, I'm talking next level, just hammy, cheesy, bad acting. Now, granted, I will say Star Wars in the past has had bad acting before, and it has even had bad writing before. But the thing is that Star Wars was notoriously known for, before Disney got a hold of it, was its storytelling. And the thing is the storytelling here is not good either. And, you know, the problem is when you compile all of these things, bad writing, bad story, bad acting, it's not a good look. You can't operate on that. And in these 2 episodes, I will say that it is not hyper political yet. Now, we have had something teased to where our lead character was talking and with another person, and it was brought up about their mothers. Now, I'm not going to speak on things that I have not seen with these further episodes, but it sounds like we are getting more of the representation outside of just race type of diversity. So we'll just put it that way. But they have alluded to it so far. But I am just really concerned about where this show is heading and what is going on here, because seems to be just another disappointment from Disney Star Wars. There are locations and scenes within this show that look like sets. There are just actual sets, and you can tell that it's not well put together. It is not this masterful level of craft. The outfits just don't quite mesh and don't feel as Star Wars as they should. They don't look as high quality. And if you look at the prequels, everything was nice and lavish. And this is supposed to be even before that in a very well-developed society. And it just doesn't represent that, in my opinion, and what is going on here. But as far as these sets go, there's a shot in the very end of the second episode of a jungle, which isn't Kashyyyk, but it does star a Wookiee that is going to be in the show. And it looks so fake and so ludicrous that I can't believe that they were comfortable releasing it. It looks abysmal. And there are other scenes as well that have this same vibe, but the jungle scene just takes the cake. And then we have these CG settings of these new locations in the background, and it's just supposed to be these big buildings on the sides of mountaintops and things, and it's just bad looking. And unfortunately, I can't find there's not a lot of footage because this just came out yesterday. There's not a lot that I can technically share as far as some of these to really show you how it looks, but they're blurry. The CG is blurry. It's almost like they just kind of half-assed it. And I don't know what is going on here or why that's the case. And then we have the lightsabers for me. There are already quite a few lightsabers in the show. And for some reason, they just don't feel right. They don't look right. They don't feel real. They kind of look like toys. And I don't know what they've done with the production here, but it just doesn't feel right. And Algorithmic Overlord on Criticless actually was pointing out in the water cooler, he was talking about how he couldn't put his finger on some things that just felt kind of wrong, but also familiar. And basically what he was getting into is that this show kind of feels like the late 90s, early 2000s low budget action shows like Hercules or Pamela Lee Anderson's VIP or Xena Warrior Princess. These shows that were like on network television that were kind of cool, but like also really cheap and poorly made. And the thing is that like that's what this show feels like. It feels kind of cheap and poorly made, but yet what we've heard about the budgets on each of these episodes, the numbers are astronomical. They are extremely high, and it really just makes me wonder, like, where was this money going? Who were you paying this to? Because this is just bonkers. I don't know how this many hundreds of millions of dollars could be spent on something so poorly made. So I mean, all of these things are compiled, and then we get into the actual story where, you are taking these characters that we love. Well, I say characters that we love, this world that we love, and the Jedi who have always been the heroes. And this is just another of Disney trying to say, hey, but like, well, remember how villains are super cool and they should have their own stories and shows. And so what we're going to do is we're going to depict the Jedi as bad guys. Basically, they're just cops, though. Not full-blown bad guys. They're just really crappy cops who talk with like cheesy cop dialogue from bad cop TV shows. Yeah, we're going to do that because that one actor that I was talking about, the male lead, he is doing a bunch of that. Some of his lines are laughable. They're so bad, and it feels like it's pulled out of a regular network television cop show. And you're just like, what is happening? What is this show? This is not Star Wars. And this definitely isn't a show that cost what you're saying it cost to make. And we're given characters like this lady here. I don't know. She doesn't look like an alien. She just looks like somebody who dyed themselves green and tattooed their head. You can go to freaking LA and see somebody like this in like 5 seconds, maybe New York City, and these folks are easy to spot. I just don't even know what is happening in this show. And, then we come down to the whole diversity thing of it, because that is the only real thing that you will hear Kathleen Kennedy or, the other folks creating this, like Leslie Headland. The only real things you'll hear them talking about with this show is diversity. And they're so obsessed with it that and you can tell in the creation of this show, every person that you see is basically just not a white man. That's the easiest way to put it. There's no other easy way to spell it, or even not just man, just white male in general. There's a scene with a bunch of Padawans and young Jedis, and there's a lot of them, not a white boy in the bunch. I mean, it's just, I don't know. It's kind of odd. It feels like to make that kind of a decision, it has to be very intentional. And now don't get me wrong. There's like one or two white guys when you look at even all of the background actors and everyone, you might be able to spot one, like the guy who looks like he was ripped straight out of the 70s, a Jedi, who is apparently a bad Jedi as well, because this is a world of bad, crappy Jedis who are just murderous psychopaths, because that's what everybody wants from their Star Wars. Also, it's really weird. So many people are British in this. Kind of weird. Used to be that, like, basically the British folks were the Empire. They just kept regularly being Empire folks. But in this, no, just almost everyone is British, which I felt a little bit bad. But I just don't really understand what they're going for with this show. Is it woke yet? Not exactly. Hyper diverse? Yes. Can you feel that the wokeness was involved in the creation of this show? Absolutely, you can. But so far in these 2 episodes, it is not a woke show exactly. You got some girl bossing, absolutely, but it's not woke inherently. Now, from what I've heard, if we keep digging and this show keeps going, then we've got a lot to worry about, because it's gonna actually fully go there. And not only that, but change the history of Star Wars, and they're in the future of Star Wars forever going forward, which is really concerning, to say the least, and a bit worrisome, considering that they're saying that this is canon. But we're already at a point where almost all of the old school fans have completely and totally checked out, and they know that. So the question is, like, what are you trying to do here? What are we going for? And why are we continuing to dig ourselves deeper in this hole? Because here's a screenshot here of what I think is going to be in the show, which has everybody worried, which is the mothers that they were talking about. I'm not going to speak on that yet because I don't know enough about it, but I have heard enough from people that I'm connected to and other YouTubers that this, in episode 3 and episode 4, is going to be where we just go off the full on, just off the cliff with what they were talking about in that little clip that I shared earlier, where they were saying that nerds are gay and that Star Wars is gay. And that's, they're just saying that it's always been that, but not for the reasons that you would think. And they're just kind of, I don't even understand what is happening anymore. Like, why are we at a point where we are allowing people to just go off the rails like this in the press? It's kind of baffling. And I think that Disney is in for a rude awakening with this show. And I don't know if we are going to be able to come back from this. And I don't know that Disney is concerned with it, because they keep letting Kathleen Kennedy run the show and keeps hiring these people that don't know enough about Star Wars, that don't really care about it. They're just concerned about pushing certain agendas. And they're like, I'll work in this world. Sure, if you just let me do whatever I want, and you can just let me put another chick in it and make it super freaking lame, like, and just put some representation in there and pretend like I have a quality product. But so far, 2 episodes in, this is not a quality product. This is a bad product. I do not recommend it. I don't think you should really watch it. And I think a lot of people are going to hate watch it for at least a couple episodes and then bail to show Disney what they really think of it. But I just think that this is just another, Kathleen Kennedy freaking vanity project in hopes to further destroy this brand. So should you watch The Acolyte? No. You want to hate watch it? Sure, have at it. I mean, this is probably only going to get worse from here. I think that this is a poorly made, cheap, terribly acted, terribly written, poor story, cop procedural starring Jedis as bad guys. That's just what it is. So enter at your own risk, I guess. But I am all but done with Star Wars, and I really hate it. It's a shame, because I loved it for a really long time. And I just think that the people who are in charge of it now really don't care about it at all. They want to make it something completely different than what we know it as. And they do not care if any of what was originally there remains. I mean, the sequel trilogy showed that, and now we're getting prequels of the prequels, and they are showing that as well. So unfortunately, I think for a lot of us,